All right, welcome everyone. As you are joining in, I see more and more logging in, so I'll give a little dad joke while we're waiting. Did you know that there's a step-by-step guide on how to climb stairs? So I found that yesterday and I read it intently. It's kind of fun. It's like a 5-step process, but I'll share that later. Another one we had yesterday, I'm grateful for clients. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for sharing and celebrating the lives of clients who've passed away. Today, we'll attend another funeral, and it's many, many, many funerals I've attended. I feel honored. It doesn't feel anything like an obligation. It's honoring somebody who is a patriarch of a family, has been around with as a client with us for 27, almost 28 years. But today I feel deeply grateful and honored that we get to push other things off right now and celebrate the lives of one of our great clients as we have. So celebration of people while they're living is extremely important as well. So make sure you get a chance today to tell someone how much they mean to you before it might be too late. It leads me into today. I'm going to say there's one thing about this before I go into gratitude, which is there are no future facts. It's something we found out. We've studied it very, very heavily, but there are no future facts. So as we look at what's going to happen, when people ask you to predict something, we all know it's just simply a guess. It's a best guess on something that will happen, only to be seen whether it happens or not in the future. So when you see somebody predicting something enough all the time, there's going to be a recession, there's going to be a recession, there's going to be a recession, whatever it is, at some point, they're probably right. You know, a stop clock is right twice a day. As I get into gratitude, I want to be grateful in this case for people, for celebrating lives, for spending some time with great friends, for my daughters, playing volleyball, for the team here and watching their incredible growth. I really want to say also I'm grateful for you guys as clients and sharing your lives with us as well. How about Zach?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Always a lot to be grateful for. This morning, just particularly grateful for the opportunity to be a father to my son and husband to my wife. And I love my 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. mornings with my baby boy and the smiles and getting the opportunity to feed him and hold him. And it's just incredibly special. So grateful for that. And just like you, Chris, I was struck with just an extreme amount of gratitude this morning with the people that we've been able to commit to as clients and the stories that they share with us. And it really feels like almost getting together with family versus a typical, at least when I got in the industry, what I thought a advisor-client relationship would be. It's just truly an honor to serve each of you and all the people that commit to us and we commit to.
I love it. I thank you. Thank you very much. How about Ken?
Thank you, Chris. Great to be here on the webinar with everybody today. And I echo the sentiment of what Chris and Zach are saying as well. And to watch matriarchs and patriarchs of families and hear the stories and feel the friendships that we do have with them, it's quite amazing. And I agree with Zach. I didn't think it was ever going to feel this way, and it certainly has. And very, very grateful for that, and celebrate a wonderful life today and others in the past as well. Also grateful for my neighbor, talking about great people. The family vehicle is in the shop right now, and he was able to lend us his vehicle so we can get the kids around to where they need to be, because 4 people in the back seat of a car that only should hold 2 can be very difficult at times. So grateful for my neighbor.
Ken, that sounded like the start of a story from college. Sorry.
So this one road trip we took,
yeah, right. Exactly. No, I appreciate you as well. How about Michael Birschbach?
Thanks, Chris. My gratitude today goes to being more present. Actually, Ken and I had talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and just always thinking about what's next. What are we doing, either tomorrow, next week, or what's really on the agenda? It's helped me stay more present and be a better noticer of things, which includes kind of the changing of the seasons, if you will. I know it's early February, but the cold spell being behind us, just excited for the changing of the seasons and being a little bit more present. Thanks, Chris.
Awesome. Thank you. How about Ashley?
Well, thank you, Chris. I'm excited for today. Today, I celebrate 12 working years with you, actually. And believe it or not, I don't feel a day older than when I started, but my life has sure grown in a positive way. So I'm just grateful for you, the opportunity that you provided me, as well as my family, and to many, many more years with the Gentian team.
We appreciate you. We celebrate your 12 years here as well. It seems like no time whatsoever. And the amazing thing is you haven't aged. So I don't know how that occurs, but we have and you haven't. So keep that up, whatever you're doing. It's awesome. With that along, how about Julie? How about yourself?
Thanks, Chris. Yes, congratulations, Ashley. I am actually grateful for animal rescue facilities. My husband Doug and I are in the process of adopting a rescue German short hair that we'll be bringing home on Sunday. So I'm just really grateful for the people that run those facilities, mainly volunteers, you know, how they remove animals from neglect or dangerous situations and find loving, safe, new, forever homes. So I'm just grateful for those people that run those facilities and really looking forward to adding another family member. So thanks, Chris.
Absolutely. Thank you as well, Julie. So today there's some big news over the last week or two. I don't know if you've noticed it. That's really rocked some of the foundation of what's been going on. And I'm talking, yes, about DeepSeek. Like, well, Chris, what the hell are you talking about? DeepSeek is a new way to do artificial intelligence. In the past, when it comes to the markets, the past probably 4 years have really been about artificial intelligence and its impact and its concern and its fear on Americans. Also the spending that's made some of the greatest US companies rise tremendously because of it. A new company's actually, I can't mention the name, but a new company that makes a semiconductor is one of the biggest companies in the world right now. And why? Because of massive investment in that idea. And DeepSeek comes around, actually it's a name of a company. There's a company that's from China that rhymes with what I just said, that has come around and made a different layered version of what it is we have. Now, question or not, have they spent a ton of money to build the models? It doesn't matter. All that stuff is interesting, but it shook the foundations of what we were building on, and massive amounts of money being spent as well. So that's one of the biggest ones that we've seen lately when it comes to technology. We'll talk more about that, but they predict on a future basis, we're going to find more efficient models and still proceed down the way. Sam Altman, who runs one of the bigger artificial intelligence companies that's out there right now, it is not public, so I say Chat.GPT, would say that's interesting. It's a nice model. However, our next model of what's about to happen is much, much better, and the investments are well worth it. So people pontificate, they make these statements that are fairly aggressive or very arrogant about what they have and what other people aren't doing. But at least it was kind of a pin in the side of this, popping the balloon of this elevated and almost inflated category called artificial intelligence. Being in the business as long as I have, going back to the late 1990s, it began to start to remind me somewhat of that. Not of the Y2K. Y2K was about fundamental issues of computing. The mortgage issue was something completely different, but just starting to look at not irrational exuberance, but beginning to get there about this idea. The good news is that some of the companies are actually growing faster than their price to earnings ratio, which is good. There's a whole bunch that goes along with that. More importantly, what many of you are looking at as well, some of the economic issues. There's several things that have really occurred in the past week or so, actually in the past few days. And if you wait 12 hours, the news may change. There's been some tariffs that have been instituted with 2 of our trading partners. And then a day later, you'll find that those were pushed off 30 days because of Border Patrol. You're wondering if it's posturing or not. If you look at the first presidency of the president currently, you'll find that this is very similar to what that person did at that point in time. And then they had 4 years again to come back and look at what they want to do, and they've implemented it very, very quickly. There's some questions as to how this is it legal, all that kind of stuff. It's interesting, but I'm going to say what it has forced is immediate conversations with 3 of the world leaders, with the President Trudeau of Canada, the President of Mexico, and also Xi of China. So it's looking to make policy renegotiations of certain categories, and in many cases, just I think 2 of the things that occurred so far is there's now 10,000 troops on both border of Canada and Mexico that are now protecting drugs from entering America. That was one of the statements. So whether you believe it or not, whether this is one of the things or not, I think one other thing as well, one of the most important ideas, and this was taught to me by a client years ago, and he said this because he was very strong one direction when it came to politics, and it really rung well with me. And he said, the person who was elected is not the person I wanted vehemently. I mean, they were vehement about the side, right? But I've decided there's 2 things I could do. I could either become part of the problem and really try to trip this person up and talk about how bad it is for the next 4 years, or I could become part of the solution in trying to mend the relations between people who are separated by politics. This is about 25 years ago, well before what's happening now has gotten even more elevated. I've always listened to that and thought that was a wonderful way to take it. So for myself, I just offer that out there as, becoming part of the solution as much as you can. There's things you'll vehemently disagree with or agree with, but don't make that part of who you are. I'm going to tell you on a day-to-day basis, I've learned a ton from you as clients. So thank you tremendously. Somebody brought this up to me. They were actually head of political science at Marquette at the time. And they said, Chris, when is the last time you made a decision that was really important to you based on who was president. I said, well, what do you mean? Well, it's probably something to do with family. Did you decide to have kids because of, did you decide not? Did you decide? I said, no, none of that. He goes, how important is it really to you on a day-to-day basis? It was an interesting commentary from the head of a political science department at a major university. But I just want to offer some of these perspectives. There's a lot going on with this. So what I want to do is, and the guys have some wonderful ideas, and ladies, on what we should do with this as well. But I just wanted to offer some of this. There are no future facts. We don't know how this will work out. I do say there's going to be more volatility. There already has been, because people aren't quite sure what to do with what's going on. There might be some inflation that comes from some of these items. There might be some long relationships that just have maybe not been as tight, become tighter. There's going to be a lot of things that are relatively radical. As you know, the person who was elected, the person is fairly radical. So I'd say we've planned for this. We planned for not this person, but we planned for this volatility, be it political, economic, socioeconomic, or let's call it warring, just the different things that occur. So there's a lot of things that can occur, but your plan is set for this. When I say this, we planned for this, is extremely important. My last words with this is, we've planned for this, come what may. This is part of it. So I want to pass this on. I have a question as I go through this. Let's start first with, we don't have Mike's minute. So actually, I'm going to go over to Mike. Mike, what's your minute right now? Well, Chris, I want to talk about a whole bunch of this. There's a whole lot that's going on. I'm going to talk really, really fast. Oh, wait, sorry. Mike's out today at EWAS with Peter. They're gathering some incredible information for us. But I thought I'd give Mike his minute because he'd appreciate that. Let me ask, though. I want to ask Zach. So, Zach, how will tariffs affect us as clients or as people? Or what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Really appreciate it. I think that was my favorite Mike's minute so far. So he's not here, so I gotta tease him too. But we recently received some tremendous news from Larry Adams, the Chief Investment Officer for Raymond James, and we're still digesting all the different information that he sent us. But he gave a great breakdown of really what the percentages are of how much the various countries that Chris mentioned actually add to our GDP, and different plans with those and potential impacts. But just as Chris said, we're continually reminded of the perspective of helping people retire for the last 30 years or more. And also from really tying back into our mentors that we search for in the industry, like Nick Murray and others, where we really focus on the timeless aspects of it, and really not letting the noise like the DeepSeek, the tariffs, and the other news speculations disrupt our long-term financial plan, which Ken will talk a little bit more about. But if our financial plan hasn't changed, should we change and potentially put our plan at risk based off of an unknown future fact like Chris talked about? So one really interesting thing regarding DeepSeek as well, we had that market volatility last week, Monday, because the news came out over the weekend. 80% of the market kind of temporary downturn in that day was due to one company's performance. So did the market really have a really tough day, or did one single company have a tough day? So just another great reminder of diversification and really having our financial plan drive us forward versus the individual investments. And it reminded me, as I was preparing for this today, as a quote from Warren Buffett that I absolutely love to tie back into, is our favorite holding period is forever. So as we go through this, I'll just go through markets where they're at for the year so far. The Dow Jones is 4.7 positive on the year. The S&P is 2.6. The NASDAQ, which is 50% weighted towards technology, is actually 2.6 as well. The Russell 2000, which tracks those smaller sized companies that we've talked a lot about over the last 2 years, is 2.7. And then this was amazingly surprising to see. International is actually leading the way so far this year at 3.8. That has not happened in quite some time. If we had a perspective with that, though, if we put 12 or 24-month returns, they would still significantly be behind. But the nice part about rebalancing is that if any rebalance occurred last year, more than likely we would have been buying more international or emerging markets, and had a great start to this year. So emerging markets right around 2% for the year as well. And just touching on the fixed income side of things, we get quite a bit of questions recently of what should I do with my cash, or I have a CD renewing, or I have a little bit more in my savings account or checking account than I'd really like or am comfortable with. CDs are still around 4.2 to 4.3%. So if one is renewing and you want to lock that in, if you're potentially thinking that rates are going to drop moving forward, it could be a good idea to look at a 6-month or 12-month CD there. Otherwise, money markets are still around 4.3 to 4.4 So I've been hearing a lot of things from different lenders in the industry that they have an expectation of rates continuing to drop throughout the year. But kind of goes back to Chris, there are no future facts, and we've seen it other times where we expect rates to stabilize or go down and they actually go the other direction. So we plan for this and ready for both. And just leaving you with this too is just beware where we're getting information from. Just out of curiosity, as the tariffs and the news was coming out, I looked at 2 different news sources that tend to lean different ways, and it was the same idea and topic with 2 completely different ideas regarding it. So just be aware of where you're getting information from and how it actually applies to you and your overall plan. But with that, Chris, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, Zach. I appreciate it. And great perspective on bringing the tariffs. So in that article as well, there's another one I read about this tariffs. It was a 6-page article on the tariffs and the ideas that go with it. And just to give you an idea, here's the topics that were outlined in this. So it goes from, this is just kind of a fun thing to go, what are the uncertainties we need to be aware of? Well, how long will tariff last? How will the other sides respond? Is this even legal? How will the domestic political context evolve? How will Trump have constructive dialogue with foreign leaders? Things we need to look at: volatility, the economy, fixed income, how that'll be, equity markets. By the way, I'm going through about 7 pages in short shrift. Currencies, oil, bottom line, no changes to our forecasts of now. So this is a whole lot of sound and fury signifying nothing. I'm dead serious. I read this, I get to the end going, it's kind of like when you get, I think it was on Christmas Story. He gets the little, decoder ring. A cruddy commercial. I mean, read this whole thing. We're not going to change anything. Don't do anything. So interesting to see that sometimes a lot of sound and fury signifying nothing. Actually, let me go to Mr. Birschbach, Michael Birschbach. There's some tax law changes coming up. Can you give us an idea of how what might happen with those for us?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. So there's a lot up for areas of change when it comes to the tax landscape. The current tax code that we're under, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, is set to expire at the end of this year. So next year could be completely different. There's a lot of things on the table. And the truth of the matter is we don't really know exactly what's going to happen. But some of the breaks that are up to disappear, be removed, would be mortgage interest, the head of household filing status, the American Opportunity Tax Credit, child tax credit. Can go through a lot of these technical different ideas that are on the table. There's also new tax breaks that are being considered. There's talks of eliminating the estate tax, making auto loan interest deductible. Even corporate tax is being cut, which would also be good for corporate profits. There's a ton of technical speculation, but the truth is we don't know what's in store for next year. And the reality of it is we might not actually know until New Year's Eve. It's entirely possible. But whatever comes from that, we stand ready to help you plan for it. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. Yeah, there's a lot going on with taxes. I think we just yesterday I was on with a client asking about something, and they've been to the IRS 4 times for 4 different answers. And actually, during the process, they were trying to get something called an EIN. The IRS lost the application for it. Think about that. How does that happen? But again, the IRS is there to help us. So just make sure you call 3 or 4 times to confirm your answer. But thank you very much. It's a very good one. So Ken, you spend a lot of time with Ed Slott. So why don't you talk about his personal life? No, I'm totally messing with you, Ken. There's a lot going on with the tariffs, with the bigger swing and bigger picture here, and a lot of things, taxes set to end, some proposals about 401ks, which are always there as well. Is there anything we need to pay attention to when it comes to our financial planning, Ken? What should you say we should look at or pay attention to?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Appreciate that very much. And you mentioned something about doing this for 30 years and clients have invested money for 40 or 50 years. It's really interesting to hear in meetings when a client takes us down memory lane about how things were in the 70s and waiting in gas lines with 2 children in the back seats and not sure if you can get gas or not because of an even or odd day. These are all interesting stories. And at that moment, that probably feels huge, and the change around that and all the stuff that was going on in the markets around that too. Like there's always something that happens throughout the years and the decades and the centuries that we go through that would make us want to do something different than what we're doing already. And Warren Buffett, we kind of quoted Warren Buffett a few times here, but it's amazing that when we do go through a market correction, a lot of people get nervous about it. We tend to be the opposite and want to lean into it because there's so many opportunities that we can take advantage of when great companies are down 20%, great companies are down 40%, whatever the number is. Great companies don't stay down forever. And Warren Buffett said it the best: when money's like soap, the more you play with it, the less you have. We have to keep that in mind as well. And another one he said was, think about this. I'll bring this down to everyday life. The stock market, great companies, if you will, might be the only thing that people run away from when they're on sale. Like, for example, if you're taking your shopping cart through the store and you get to the beef roast, usually $6.99 a pound, all of a sudden it's on sale for 50% off, it's $3.99 a pound. Guess what we're having for dinner? Beef stew. It's amazing to think that what we do, like when we see things on sale, we tend to buy them. When we find great companies on sale, we tend to think, what's wrong with them? Nothing. It's just that the overall sentiment of the market has pushed them down. And that's something to be aware of. So what do? We lean into these times of opportunity, rebalancing, we talk about quite a bit. It makes a huge difference in your overall rate of return. Conversion planning. This is a huge one where we talk about taking money from your traditional IRA and converting it to your Roth IRA. It's a wonderful opportunity. Might be one of the best opportunities in a market correction that we see during that time frame. Tax planning with non-IRA investments, such as trust accounts, personal accounts. It's called tax loss harvesting. Get into that at another time. But again, another great opportunity to take advantage of. And also, if we have some cash on the sidelines, when there's some buying opportunities, why not put some of your hard-earned money that's in cash, if we already have enough in emergency money, and to buy some of these great opportunities when they're on sale. So lots of opportunity, Chris, something we don't run away from, something we want to lean into, and something we want to take advantage of. Back to you, Chris.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Ken. Talking about great companies, as Ken was, a couple of different ideas too. And this is, I think, research that comes from, I think, empirical research. It's interesting to watch, but when you're looking at the big growers, that's the biggest growers in the market. Look at 2017 to 2024, just that time period of time. The correction of the 75 fastest growing stocks peaked at 69%. That's not just a bear market. That is a depression type market for the fastest growing stocks in the world. These are normally the ones that have the highest valuations. Even with the appreciation from 2023 and 24, they've gone up significantly. They may have doubled in some case tripled. The correction still stands with growth stocks more than 45% off from their highs in 2021. Now, you might argue 2021 was a big high, but it's just interesting to see that. A couple others, take a look at their percentage of NASDAQ constituents down 50% or more. This comes from JP Morgan from January. But looking at this, over almost 52% of stocks in the NASDAQ are 50% or more down from their high. So there's a tale of two cities in here. It's not like the market's just all shining and rosy, but looking across the board, you're going to find there's a lot of categories that are well undervalued inside the big tech, which might sound like it's overvalued, and the the entire market's overvalued. That's what a lot of people have said. What's interesting is we'll find out if it's overvalued or not in months, weeks, years. But I would say after two major great upturn years, you may have a third, you may not. Perspective is here. Be prepared. Most likely on a go-forward basis, when we're at this kind of valuation, we're not looking for double-digit returns every single year. We're looking for more single-digit returns. And that's a difference for a lot of people when they start to see, oh my goodness, they got 7 versus 12 or 14. Those are big differences in your portfolio, but be prepared to operate that on a go-forward basis. It's a great jump we've had here, but we might see some correction we will see corrections, but on a go-forward basis, it's an awesome one. Thanks, Ken, for that. Let's go to first, Ashley. What do you have for Ashley's Advocate? Why don't you bring us some things we need to pay attention to as well?
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you, Chris. February is a month not full of hard deadlines, however, or a flurry of activity, actually, for that matter. And we do tend to spend a little bit more time inside this month. So I bring to you a checklist to consider. Hopefully you can check off a few of these things while you are enjoying some time inside. So the first one I have is get a jump on those taxes. April 15th may sound like a far ways away, but as we all know, it does creep up quickly. And don't forget that those tax forms are coming to you in the mail in 3 different phases, of course, from Raymond James. We have February 15th, we have February 28th, and again, the latest one would be March the 15th. So just wanted to bring that to your attention one more time. Good time to also check your credit score. The big three offer free 1 time a year opportunities for you to check your credit. So start with February, pull your first one. Maybe it's the Transperian. And then every couple of months after that, pull the other two and just keep a good eye on your credit score. If you have a dependent that is going to be entering college this fall, it is a good time to fill out the FAFSA form. Just bringing that to your attention for, again, anyone with grandkids that are going to be entering college this fall, or parents, of course, take a look at filling out that form. Review your estate and asset titling. One of the biggest mistakes that we have seen is getting all that work done by an estate planner and then either not signing a form or not letting Gentian know about some retitling that needs to be done on your accounts. You've invested the time. Let's just make sure that we get it all right here on our end. Please don't be afraid to share those documents in a secure place. Raymond James offers your online vault, so please feel free to upload a copy of your taxes or your most recent taxes. All of your estate planning documents can be safely kept there. And again, also just verifying beneficiaries when you do get all of those estate planning documents done. We are happy to help here at Gentian, but also remember your bank, your home, your cars, all those important areas to check asset titling as well as beneficiary designation. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So before I close with some closing statements, Julie, what should we be paying attention to at Gentian this week?
Great, thanks, Chris. Actually, starting next Wednesday, we will have limited office availability between the hours of 9 and 3:30 as we focus on getting better for you. So we will return any calls or emails shortly thereafter. Thursday, February 13th will be our Ladies and Gentian Valentine's Tea and Luncheon, which we're really excited about, beginning at 11:30 at the River Club. So if you haven't RSVP'd and would like to join us, please do so by tomorrow so that we make sure that we have enough food and tea. And so we'd love for you to join us on that day. Friday, February 14th, obviously is Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Monday, February 17th, the markets and our office will be closed in observance of President's Day. Wednesday, February 19th will be our next bi-weekly video podcast beginning at 9 o'clock. It will be a little extended version of it, so it'll go a little bit longer. Lots of good topics, lifeboat drills and market corrections, so make sure to join us for that and register. And then also on February 19th will be our February birthday club. So the doors open at noon. So please RSVP for that. So again, we have enough food and treats for everybody. So we'd love to celebrate your birthday on February 19th. So that's it for February. Chris, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you very much, Julie. I appreciate it. Thank you. So looking today, kind of closing, we've talked about this. There are no future facts. Remember that. So a lot of people who are on TV or others, or just even prognosticators, they're trying to do a good job. But remember what they're doing. Projection is imperfect prediction, which equals guess. So we look at these kind of things. We don't even know if the sun will rise tomorrow, right? We project it will, we predict it will, and we write when it does. So there's a lot of things as we look at this as be very careful of that future projection. Live today. Make sure you're not bringing tomorrow's anxiety into today to ruin today with what may or may not happen tomorrow. That's a very, very strong, important one to look at. I also call it the thermostat versus the thermometer. Be the thermostat today. Be the one that sets the pace, not the one who is driven by whatever happens. Don't let somebody else take over your mindset and your feelings today because of what's going on. Be the thermostat. Don't be the thermometer. As I go and look at this, I wanted to take one more thing. You've looked at people over time, and when someone says they'll do something, you've heard that before. You got a friend, oh yeah, I'll give you a call, or we'll try to make it there. What do you think the chances are of them actually doing it? Most of the time when people say they're going to do something, mention it in passing, you kind of question whether or not they'll do it, and maybe 50% of the time they do. So it's always surprising. I find friends who do this as well. When they say something, they actually are going to do it, and I know who they are. So this is an interesting one. I'd say when somebody says, oh yeah, we're going to be there, I'm going to do this, they're just trying to be nice to you in that moment, really telling you I'm not going to be. But when somebody you know says they're going to do something and does it, it's a big difference. So I looked at that for myself. Am I the kind of person when I say I'm going to do something, I will? And I think most of the time I intend to be, but intention doesn't mean it follows through. So the next thing is be that kind of person for somebody else. When you say you're going to do something, do it. And be careful with saying you're going to do something. I think it's an important part of us just becoming better humans. As we go forward with a lot of the uncertainty going on, as we do our video podcasts on a future basis as well, we're going to make them more meaningful. We're going to make more topics that you'll be able to pull away and pull little segments out of and repeat. We'll be asking more questions because each one of the people you see on the screen here and those who aren't here have great expertise. We're going to really highlight that. So we want to bring you pieces that are very easy to take away from, but more importantly, it's reminding you of the mindset that we have, that we want to offer to you, that allows us to make it through these times when things seem, I'm going to call it times like these, whatever these are to you. If they're very anxious, if they're very calming, we just want to allow you to maybe operate at a point where you can look at things without a lot of conjecture, without a ton of emotion, to look at what the facts are when it comes to the economy. Your opinion and your feelings are valid. I don't want to discredit either one of those. Your feelings and opinions are valid. We just want to offer you a possible way to look at things where you're maybe reducing the anxiety that comes in from what you're seeing. So with that, we want to thank you tremendously for being really working with us, for sharing your lives with us. I also once again want to thank you for the introductions you offer to us and for screening people who may not be right for us and offering people who are very kind and nice. We very much appreciate that. And we grow because of you. You'll see that from the team. You'll see that from the awards. These are your awards. This is your team. We're here to serve you as our primary focus. Thank you tremendously once again for that. Thank you for this video podcast. We appreciate you from our global headquarters here in Mequon, Wisconsin. Thank you, and we will see you in 2 weeks.